them all written right here.
All right. Welcome, everybody. We have almost all the gang together today. Josh has his new Iron Maiden hoodie on. Turn that baby around. Let's see it.
Nice.
That is sweet.
Nice.
And as you can tell by everybody's t-shirt, except for mine, we're doing an Iron Maiden discussion. We have been wanting to do this video for a couple weeks and we just couldn't get everybody together, but tonight we're going to do it finally. We've got a couple of different questions that we're going to ask, kind of a roundtable discussion. We're going to talk about our favorite Iron Maiden cover art, favorite top 5 Iron Maiden songs, top 5 albums, our favorite deep track, and our favorite version of Eddie. So anybody have anything they want to say before we get into our first question for everybody?
I don't think so.
No.
Okay.
I'm ready, man.
All right.
Put a sign that says "Where's Gary?" Kind of like the Guns N' Roses did with Bradley.
Yeah.
Where's Gary?
Yeah, no, Gary sent me a text. He's like, sorry, bro, Iron Maiden blows. I'm going to sit this one out. So, I mean, that's fine. That's his prerogative.
And he just lost 500 subscribers. Great job.
Exactly.
Yeah, so much for that. But all right, anyway, so let's do the first one, which is our favorite Eddie. What's your favorite Eddie? We'll start with Josh, then Brandon, Chris, Aaron, and then myself last.
Okay, let me grab it here. I would say this is my favorite Eddie. Killers. Not my favorite art, but definitely my favorite Eddie. I just remember seeing this on the back of someone's jean jacket and thinking, I have to figure out what that band sounds like. And yeah, I absolutely love that. Killers Eddie. Just
Nice.
Incredible.
Nice.
How beautiful that is.
Psychotic Eddie.
Yep.
So who's next? I can't remember the order.
Brandon next.
I'm next. All right. Again, you can't go wrong with any Eddie, but
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gotta go with the Trooper. I remember like long before I even really started listening to Iron Maiden, I got like 4 or 5 posters just because of how cool they were. And I had like the Phantom of the Opera, Somewhere in Time, but the Trooper was the one that every time I came in my room and just looked at it, it was just one of those kind of like when a demon type of thing all of a sudden seems like your best friend as opposed to the enemy. That's how you know the stuff's getting cool. And that's the way I felt about the Trooper. That's definitely my favorite by far.
Awesome.
Chris?
I was just thinking, I had a poster of Aces High when I was a kid with Eddie in the plane, and that's probably my favorite. I don't have it anymore, so I'm going with my second favorite of Eddie, Futuristic Eddie.
Yes.
That's what I'm talking about, Aaron, right there. I love that Eddie. But I went with Futuristic Eddie from Somewhere in Time.
Love it.
Nice.
I like to say when Brandon showed the Trooper, it kind of put a thing in my head where they're kind of ahead of their time there because Eddie always had hair and then he was bald, so it's kind of like like everyone went the bald route in modern music, so they were way ahead of their time on that. I think. Here's my favorite Eddie. I used to have a poster of this when I was a kid, and I loved it.
Yeah.
I always loved the Purgatory.
That's cool.
Eddie.
Nice.
More
Love
people.
I'm going to go with this one where he doesn't even have like half his body. It's like it's all basically just a torso, head, and arms. I just something about this. I just love the color scheme of it. I remember seeing this. They had a huge like display of this when it came out in the record store, and I remember like that is so cool. Even though I was never going to buy the record, but that would probably be mine. I don't know why. I don't know all the 12-inch single covers and things like that. So I'm kind of late to the party on Iron Maiden. So probably there's cooler stuff out there. The one where he's driving the ice cream truck. I forget what single that is. The evil that men do or whatever. But
Jeff, I love the Seventh Son, Eddie. I really do. And when we talk about our favorite art, it'll make an appearance, if not two. So
yeah, no, it's hard, to separate
Yeah.
that. But my favorite album cover is different from that one. But in terms of the actual Eddie himself, so all right, next one is going to be our favorite album cover.
Okay, are we showing top 5 or just favorite album cover in general?
Oh, I don't know. What do you guys want to do?
Do top 5.
Okay.
Yeah, well, why don't we just flash our first 4 really quick and then talk about our number 1, maybe? If that
Yeah,
saves,
right.
I don't know,
Okay.
a suggestion.
Okay, so 5 would be Seventh Son. Then I've got Number of the Beast. Then it would be Power Slave. Then Somewhere in Time. And then my favorite art is going to be Live After Death, which I absolutely love this album cover. I love that it's a gatefold. I stared at this endlessly as a kid, endlessly. Just looking at like the headstones and the gatefold and the book inside. Definitely, easily my favorite art. Live After Death.
Great choice.
All right.
Yeah, and you did you say you got that autographed?
I do have it autographed. Yep. By
Yeah.
the artist Derek Riggs.
Nice.
So, yeah, that one's framed. So I have 2 copies. My OG press is autographed, and then that is the repress that I spent.
Nice.
Very cool. Not one of us can say that. I don't have any Derek Riggs.
He's actually in.
I'm not
Derek Riggs is in my apartment right now.
Yeah.
In the
tied
closet.
up in your closet. Yeah. With a
Sign
Sharpie
this
and
album.
with a Sharpie and a pad of drawing paper. All right, Brandon, you're next.
All right, I just made a last second call here. I'm going to shift it up a little bit. Let's see. I think I'm going to pull that one. All right.
This is serious business tonight, guys.
I know. Got to really make sure we get clear here. All right, so I think this is how I wanted it. Number 5. Sorry about the glare, guys. Gonna go with that bad boy right there. I've always liked this one just because it was kind of so different than all the other Eddies, where like in almost everything else, Eddie was in control kind of thing. And this was like one of the first times when he was really, whatever you want to call that happening. So that's one that always stood out to me. Number 4, I mean, gotta go with Life After Death. That's just absolutely fantastic for all the reasons that Josh mentioned a minute ago. Then I'm going to go with Peace of Mind. And then number 2.
He's not in control on that one either, is he?
Yeah. Well, yeah, in some, but he's freaking out, which is still a little bit of control.
Yeah.
Killers, of course, that's one of the most perfect Eddies there. But then I got to go with Cyborg as my number 1.
Nice.
First true Maiden album that I ever got into. And I remember my friend Matt brought that cassette over and handed it to me. And I had never heard any of this Maiden. And I took one look at the cover and thought, I don't care what this is. I have to like it. It's a given. And so Cyborg is definitely number 1.
I love
Great.
it.
Mm-hmm.
I love the cassette of Somewhere in Time. I felt like the J card just kept unfolding and unfolding. Like
Yeah.
it was so cool.
And back when you had the kid eyes, you could actually read it.
Yeah.
Can't see a damn thing now.
Yeah.
Is it my turn?
Yep.
You got it.
All right. So number 5 for me is Brave New World.
Nice.
I love that cover. Of course, the return of Bruce. Number 4, Somewhere in Time. Number 3, Killers. Number 2, Power Slave. I mean, that's just amazing
Nice.
artwork. And then my number 1, I'm with Josh, going Live After Death.
Nice.
That's awesome.
Cool.
Yeah, just the whole color scheme and all the little intricacies, like you were saying, Josh. I probably spent so much time Because I think there was a thing back in the day where people were like, "Oh, they put a 666 on every cover or something like that." So
Mhm.
I was trying to figure out, like, does the lightning bolt make a 6? And that was what I was into, like,
Yeah.
even last week. I'm still trying to find the 666, but yeah, just perfect artwork.
Chris, it's so funny that you mentioned Brave New World because, I held this up earlier. I love the art for Wicker Man.
Yeah.
And here's
Yeah.
my, Brave New World concert shirt. But before I had wished that this had been the cover because I love that movie, The Wicker Man. I love the art for The Wicker Man.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I do like the Brave New World cover. I think it was not what I was expecting when I heard Maiden was back with Dickinson. Like I was
Right.
expecting it to be like Eddie to be more prominent, but I think it's cool.
Did any of you guys have that Life After Death door poster? Did you ever have that?
I
No.
did not.
It was my friend Matt had one, and I was always so jealous. It was a full door poster, and it was basically that Eddie like busting through the door. Like one leg was through and his upper body was through, and it was just the
That's
coolest
awesome.
thing in the
Wow,
world.
that's awesome.
Yep. So my number 5 is Number of the Beast. Love that album cover. My number 4, Seventh Son of the Seventh Son, which you got to go with the back cover too.
Yeah.
Grateful.
Yeah.
My number 3, Killers. My number 2, Live After Death, for all the reasons you said. And my number 1 Iron Maiden cover is Somewhere in Time. I remember staring at this and just going through and finding there's all these different references to different songs they did, previous songs that are all through this and on the back too, and just staring at it for hours trying to find every little minute thing with kid eyes. Now I have to use a magnifying glass. But back then I could just see every little thing in it. And those 2 albums, this and Seventh Son, should definitely have been gatefolds. But this phenomenal artwork, Derek Riggs is amazing.
Nice.
Yeah.
Love it.
All right, my number 5, Building the Perfect Beast. 4, Seventh Son of a Seventh Son. 3, Killers.
Love it.
Love that one with the hatchet or whatever. Somewhere in Time, just again because there's so much to look at on here. Even on the back cover, you could spend hours looking at that. And then my number 1 is going to be the Live After Death. I love that just for the color. Just everything is so perfect. And like Josh, you were saying before we actually started the video, it seems like after the 80s, well, at least into, I don't know, since Bruce Dickinson returned, they started to spend less and less time, it seemed like, or were less and less invested in what the artwork looked like on their albums. Because I noticed like every one of us, had a cover to show that was, I think there was only one Blaze Bayley era album, and I think Brave New World was the most recent one that anybody showed. I don't think anybody showed Dance of Death or any one of the ones after that. Fear of the Dark, which wasn't even a Derek Riggs. He didn't even do that cover. But
yeah, it makes no sense to me. Like the only thing I can think, Jeff, is maybe they're hot. Obviously they want to own the art because they merchandise like crazy. And maybe some artists will be like, well, I'll sell it to you to use on your album, but I'm not giving you the art. Like I want money every time you print it on a t-shirt or a poster or something along those lines, because it makes no sense. That I do feel like the art is still cool, but you can tell there's a big drop off from the 80s and 90s compared to what we're seeing now in the last 5 years.
what do you consider the worst Iron Maiden cover artwork?
Dance of Death to me. I know some people love it, but I just can't get into it at all.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, I think the artist even said that was an unfinished cover.
Yeah. Also, the one Space Eddie. Which one's Space Eddie?
Final Frontier.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of that one either.
That's pretty weak. That one's pretty weak.
Yeah, Dance of Death looks like if you had AI do an image of an Iron Maiden cover, that's what it would have generated.
Yeah, I like Dance of Death.
Yeah.
I like Eddie as the Grim Reaper. I think if it was like,
it's
I don't know, yeah.
It's
I
too
don't know,
slick.
that album is great though.
Yeah, they're all good.
And I might say this, that I feel like that was their last strong album all the way through, Dance of Death. A lot of people go one more with Matter of Life and Death, but
I
for
like
me,
both of them. So
yeah, I love Dance of Death though. I think it's a great
A
album.
lot of people are saying that the new Bruce Dickinson solo album is better than the last like 5 Maiden albums.
It
You
kind of
feel-
is. It kind of is.
Well, at least he trimmed the songs down.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's get into then our favorite albums, or top 5 albums, I should say.
Okay.
this
So
would be
top 5 albums, some similarities for me. I'm assuming I did not count live albums, I just counted studio albums because if we did count live albums, there'd be a couple that I would show. But I will say that my number 5 is going to be Seventh Son of a Seventh Son. I absolutely love this album. A Moonchild is one of my absolute favorite. Infinite Dreams, just incredible album. Number 4 is going to be Number of the Beast. I know some people love this, some people don't, but to me, it's never gotten old for me. I know a lot of the songs are overplayed, but I still absolutely love it. Number 3, Power Slave. 2 of my favorite Maiden songs, I'll tell you, come from this album. So absolutely love it. And then my top 2, no surprise to people that know me, it's going to be the first Iron Maiden. I absolutely love this. Every single song is such a classic. And then my all-time favorite Iron Maiden album is going to be, if I can find it, there we go, Killers. I do love the Paul Di'Anno albums best. I'm not trying to disparage Dickinson or Blaze, but those are just the 2 that I love the most. But yeah, those are my top 5.
nice.
Nice. Very nice. It's so interesting. Like we could all have different picks on every single question and no one is wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's pretty freaking cool.
Yeah.
you guys might change your mind after you hear mine.
All right, so my top 5, starting at number 5, I'm going with Seventh Son. That's number 5. Number 4, jumping on the Josh bandwagon with Killers. Fantastic, fantastic. Number 3, going self-titled. And actually, we could flip these 2, 3, doesn't make a difference. I have a hard time ever deciding which one of those I think is better. But then number 2, got to go with Power Slave. And number 1 is everything I just said a minute ago about this one. Somewhere in Time is still my favorite. I catch a lot of flack for that sometimes, but don't care. That's my absolute favorite.
Great choices.
I don't know why you catch flack for having Somewhere in Time be your favorite album.
It was one of those things where I guess like the whole idea behind like I guess somewhat being a concept album type of thing. And a lot of the things that were really good on like Wasted Years and Stranger in a Strange Land. I mean, it was definitely kind of more of I guess maybe a mainstream sound. Like those are songs that could have easily gotten radio play kind of thing. And I just think, some of the hardcore Maiden fans, especially at the time, were, just kind of like, oh, they're starting to sell out kind of thing. But fantastic album. It's a very accessible album, which I just think makes it great.
Yeah, I love it. I love everything up to, I love the new stuff too, but everything up to Seventh Son to me is essential. Like if you have to own if you're a Maiden fan, everything up to Seventh Son is, I wouldn't trade any of those albums. So
yeah, totally agree.
All right. Well, my top 5. So number 5, this is going to surprise people. Virtual 11 is a top 5 album for me. Now, here's the thing. Blaze sang on 2 records, and Aaron's probably going to disagree with me, but I like Virtual 11 better than X Factor, even though I really like X Factor. This album, I feel, is a little bit brighter. It opens up with one of my favorite songs, Future Real. And I'm not lying. I listen to this album probably once every couple of weeks. I love it that much. It's a strong record. Blaze, I love Blaze as a singer. You guys know that. I have pretty much all of his solo stuff as well. Was he the perfect fit for Maiden? probably not. Following Bruce was a tough thing to do, but I think he brought his own style. He had a darker quality to his voice. I love this album. Listen to the tune Como Estas Amigos, the last tune. So good. So that's number 5 for me. The other ones are going to be kind of normal Maiden. Number 4, Killers. Number 3, Seventh Son. I remember when this came out, people were talking about Maiden sold out because of the guitar synths on this album, but I think it's one of their best. Obviously, it's number 3 for me.
And it's got 2 hype stickers.
Yeah, exactly.
Look at that, double hype.
Number 2, sorry, I'm losing my voice here. Power Slave. I mean, Aces High, 2 Minutes to Midnight, Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner, Power Slave. And then Brandon, my number 1, Somewhere in Time. And it's funny because you had said that that was the first album you got into. Mm-hmm. Same for me. It must have just been the right time. I remember Wasted Years, of course, the title track. I sometimes like Alexander the Great better than Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner. I think it's a little bit more concise, but just a phenomenal record.
Nice.
Love it.
Great choices.
Thank you.
Now, I got something weird with mine because I got to do a top 6, but there's a reason. But I'll get to it when I get to it. So I actually went back and listened to every Iron Maiden album in the last couple of weeks, getting ready for this. And this is my number 6. Actually, my number 5. I'll go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then a bonus thing. You'll see. But my number 5, going back, is Number of the Beast. I always thought this wasn't one of my top 5, but going back and listening, this just album killer all the way through, every song. And it's, I've gotten past the stage where I've overheard the stuff because I haven't heard them a lot lately. So it came back around. So number 5 for me. Number 4, Killers. Love the Paul Di'Anno era. This is an amazing record. Actually, I think one of those. No, never mind. My top 10, one of the songs made, not top 5. Number 3, Power Slave. Absolutely phenomenal album. Love that album so much. Number 2, Iron Maiden, the debut. Absolutely phenomenal. This is close to being my number 1, really. It's like a flip-flop for me with this one. And my number 1, Peace of Mind. Always been my favorite. I love every song on this. It's just so high energy. The songs are catchy and memorable. My favorite Iron Maiden, except there's one album I like better than all. And this is going to surprise everybody, but this I like better than any Iron Maiden album. Wolfsbane, Live Fast, Die Fast, with Blaze Bayley. I swear to God, my favorite album by anyone involved with Iron Maiden ever is this record. From 1989. I love this album so much, and I was so excited when he joined because this was like one of my favorite albums when it came out. And the X Factor would have actually been my one right after Number of the Beast. Before Seventh Son and before Somewhere in Time, but just barely. It's right in there with me. And Virtual 11 is down for me a little bit, but I love Virtual 11. But this album here is my number 1 Iron Maiden album ever, even though it's not Iron Maiden.
And I will say this.
I'm not lying about that. It really is.
I'm really surprised that a lot more people don't listen to Blaze's solo stuff because I'm telling you guys, and I know you're all metal fans, if you like just straight up heavy metal, like in the style, it's probably like a heavier Wolfsbane. You got to check out the Blaze records. They're so good. What?
See, the Wolfsbane album there is really heavy. There were albums after it weren't even close to that one. And then the Blaze stuff is, and listen to some of it, but that album there is really heavy. It's a really heavy album, really fast, almost heavier than Maiden at times.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right, Jeff. Let's see what you got.
All right. Well, my number 5 is going to be the first Iron Maiden album that I ever owned, thanks to Mr. Chris Prophy. He got me started on my Iron Maiden journey. That's going to be Peace of Mind with the original UK gatefold.
Nice.
And it does have the gun with it, the cardboard gun on it. And then number 4 is going to be somewhere. No, not somewhere time. Seventh Son of a Seventh Son. I got this on CD actually when when we were in Boston. Yeah, I got it on CD when we were in Boston, and I had it in my car for about a month straight. And so I just really connected with a lot of the songs on this one. I couldn't tell there was synthesized guitar on it. I have no idea what the hell that even is, but it just sounded great. Got a lot of progressive elements to it. And I really dig the cover of that one as well. And then, I'm a huge, I love these first 2 Iron Maiden albums. The one with John Corabi. This one, the first one, the debut, which I love a lot. Cover artwork. It's funny to see kind of that primitive version of Eddie on here. But yeah, there's just something, I love because it doesn't sound, it's not that far removed from some of my favorite 70s, heavy rock like Black Sabbath and Deep Purple. And there's a song on there that might make my list. Number 2, the other one, the second album, Killers. Love that one. Love the cover. I did these first 2 Iron Maiden albums. I think are just really phenomenal, which I wouldn't have expected. I would have thought like a Bruce Dickinson. The top 5 would always be Bruce Dickinson albums. And I didn't even realize for the longest time there was a singer before Bruce Dickinson. I was just assumed that he'd been the lead singer all the time. I came to Iron Maiden very late, so my knowledge of the band is not as extensive as you guys. So, all these picks that I'm making are just impressions that I've had since getting into Iron Maiden. But my number 1, and this one I've always, since the first time I heard it, I'm like, this album is great. I love this one. This was always going to be my number 1, but it's going to be Power Slave. I love this. And it's funny because I think my favorite Judas Priest album was the Defenders of the Faith, which I think came out right around the same time, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know years in terms of that, but I guess I love my mid 80s metal, as it turns out. So that's my 5.
Nice.
Awesome.
Nice.
Yeah, I like what you said about the like kind of the connection with that early Maiden to the 70s rock and stuff like that. Because that's one of the things I've always thought they did so well on those first 2 albums, especially that first one. It was like the perfect bridge from punk and that hard rock going into what was going to become the British New Wave invasion of, and it's like there was just a perfect album to bridge those 2 worlds together.
Yeah, like a song like Remember Tomorrow. I mean, that sounds like so, early 70s, just very kind of retro in a way.
Yeah.
I love that one. But yeah, anyway, for what it's worth, that's my top 5. So now we're going to talk about our top 5 songs.
So like Aaron had said at the beginning of the video, this is super difficult, and my list could have been hundreds long. They're so close. And the one thing I'll say about Maiden is I did not go the cool route and pick like obscure songs. I freaking love some of their hits. I really, really do. And they just never got old to me. So at number 5, I'm going with Wrathchild. I know it's one of their biggest songs, but I friggin' love it. Every time I hear it, it just takes me back to being like 11 years old and discovering that song. Number 4, Aces High. I know Chris had mentioned the art before. Chris, I had that poster. I actually got that poster from like a one of those traveling carnivals that you'd go with your friends on the weekends that would set up shop, and the rides were terrifying. But I remember that one of the prizes was an Aces High poster, and I had it. Love that song. Number 3 from the same album, 2 Minutes to Midnight. I know so many Maiden fans are so sick and tired of that song. I just love it. Like I said, it takes me back to being a kid. My number 2, Number of the Beast. My son, when he first got his first like online account, he chose the password, and his password included the number 666. And his grandfather goes, "Why would you include 666?" And he said, "Because it's the number of the beast, Grandpa." That's how much I played that song for Carter. So Number of the Beast, my second favorite Maiden song. And
That's
my number,
the funny thing. Sorry to interrupt, Josh, but
Yeah.
that's actually the security code. That was it. I don't have that card anymore, but my HSA card for my health insurance, last year, the security code was 666.
I love it.
Very easy to remember.
Yeah. I know a lot of you guys discovered Maiden with Somewhere in Time, which is really cool. For me, one of the first experience I had with Maiden was Maiden Japan because it was the cheapest and I had a paper route. And that song Running Free on Maiden Japan just was amazing, which I have Maiden Japan down there somewhere, but that's my favorite Maiden song. It's been my favorite Maiden song since I was 11 years old. So yeah, Running Free, my number one. But like Aaron said, there's so many that I absolutely love. I mean, it was hard to narrow it down to 5. So
Good
Nice.
choices.
Great
makes
choices.
sense.
All right. So jumping into my 5 here. Number 5, Jeff, you actually already kind of took care of this for me a little bit. Remember Tomorrow. Like all the reasons you mentioned just a moment ago. That's definitely in my top 5 or number 5. Yeah, number 4. I'm actually going to the Ugly album cover, and it's The Alchemist off of
Wow.
here, and it's one of those songs that just kind of it came out of nowhere for me, and for literally a couple of years it was just the only Maiden song that I kept playing over and over and over and over and over. So it makes it into my top 5. Number 3, Ace is High, can't get away from that. Number 2, Wasted Years off of Somewhere in Time.
Love it.
And my number 1, this is just the one song that just makes me think Iron Maiden whenever I hear it more than any other, is The Trooper. I mean, it's just like as soon as you hear that, bum, bum, ba-da-dum, bum, bum, ba-da-dum, it's like that is just pure vintage Maiden right there. And I love how so many people use it for like intros on their videos and all kinds of stuff. And it just has like it's like almost like the song is bigger than the band itself. It's like writing their name to play that song. And so that's gonna be my number 1 Maiden song.
Nice.
I love it.
Well, I
Very
didn't pull
cool.
all my Maiden albums, so I might need you guys to help me with a couple of them.
Okay.
I got the first one here. My number 5 is the same as Josh. I'm going Wrathchild from Killers. I love that song. It's a heavy, heavy freaking song. I've got the album for this next one too. I mentioned it before. Alexander the Great is my number 4. My son, ask for thyself another kingdom, for that which I leave is too small for thee. Then it starts in. It builds. I just love that song. That's the thing too. I learned a lot of history by listening to Iron Maiden, probably more than I did in school. All right, this next one I didn't pull out. It's the debut. I'm going with Phantom of the Opera. I love that little, sort of like the Trooper. Yeah, it's just got that great little guitar lick. Thanks. And I didn't pull Peace of Mind either, but I'm going Where Eagles Dare for number 2. There you go. I knew you guys could help me. And then my number 1, I got this. My number 1 is Ace is High from Power Slave. So it's Wrathchild, Alexander the Great, Phantom of the Opera, Where Eagles Dare, and Ace is High.
Love it.
Yeah.
Another great
Actually, the top 10, but I'll just show my top 5. I might mention the other 5 after, but my number 5 is going to be, I just put them out of order. My number 5 is from Number of the Beast. It's Hallowed Be Thy Name.
Nice.
Love that song. That whole story is so creepy and cool. Love Hallowed Be Thy Name. Number 4, I've got from Power Slave, Flash of the Blade. Love that song so much. Flash of the Blade, just so energy, and the chorus is so catchy. And I do like the deep tracks more than the singles, but I love the singles too. I mean, I could put a top 100 of Maiden, and I love every one of them, like almost the same, like Josh was saying. So, but Flash of the Blade, I'm going with the songs where when I listening to the record, when that song comes on, I just and this really pumps me up. That's Flash of the Blade. Number 3 from, where is it? Here we go. Brandon already had it. Remember Tomorrow. I love Remember Tomorrow, especially the version on Made in Japan. It's so cool. I love how it's all moody and then it gets real heavy and turns into that Maiden. Yeah, the version on that is probably my favorite version. Love Remember Tomorrow. My number 2 title song, Power Slave. That's the song. When I first heard Live After Death, that song just like, oh my God, I never heard Power Slave before. And just love that song so much. And it like fits perfectly with the cover. Love it. Yeah. And my number 1 Iron Maiden song is actually a deep cut, but it's been my favorite Iron Maiden song for like 20 years. And it's from Peace of Mind. It's Sun and Steel. I love it. It's one of the shorter songs. It's such a catchy chorus. I love Sun and Steel. It's just every time that song comes on, I'm just like, it's like I'm jumping around the room. Can't help it. It just moves me. Like when I don't, it's just crazy good. Love Sun and Steel. If I finish out, number 6 was Die With Your Boots On. Number 7 was Iron Maiden. Number 8 was Another Life from Killers. 9 was Number of the Beast. Number 10 was Stranger in a Strange Land. Love that song too.
Oh yeah.
Nice.
Who wrote Still Life? Was that a Dave Murray song?
Still Life.
Wait, isn't that your number 1? Still Life, right?
Sun and Steel.
Oh, Sun and Steel. Did
Yeah.
Dave Murray write Sun and Steel? I don't know. I'm gonna look here. Sorry, I didn't mean to put you on the spot. I can't remember.
It's Murray and Harris.
Okay, yeah.
But that song is so catchy, and it's like, and you don't ever hear it, and it's like certain songs, like I said, when the album comes on and you're like getting into the whole thing's good, then all of a sudden one song come on and it just takes it to another level for you. That's what all those songs do for me. Actually, those whole 10 are like that for me, and I could do another 50 that do the same thing.
Sun and Steel is almost like Escape from Ride the Lightning. You know what I mean? It's got that sort of brightness to it, and not a lot of people talk about it, but it's a great song.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice, good picks. I like those.
All right, my number 5 going to be Wasted Years off of here. And some of these, when I think of Iron Maiden, I don't really think like, oh, this is what Iron Maiden sounds like. I mean, this sounds like, you know, I don't know, just like other metal, or not even necessarily metal, but I hear this and I'm like, this like I could have heard on the radio and I wouldn't have thought it was Iron Maiden necessarily. I love the guitar intro on the song. The next one is going to be Infinite Dreams, the second song off of here. I love it because it's so long and it's progressive. It moves through different sections, and I love that song. Ever since that was one of the songs when I would have it the CD in my car. That was like I couldn't wait till Infinite Dreams came on because that was my favorite one off of there.
I like
already
the lyrics.
mentioned. What's that?
I like the lyrics from Infinite Dreams.
Yeah, definitely. It's everything about that one is great. And then I did mention this one already. Remember Tomorrow. Immediately when I heard this, I'm like, I freaking love this song. I can't believe this is Iron Maiden because it sounded like a different band altogether. And not just because John Corabi was singing, it wasn't Bruce Dickinson, but just the mellowness of it, the way it starts out, very mellow. Love that one. My number 2 is going to be 2 Minutes to Midnight. And I'm not sick of it because I never heard this back in the day, but like immediately this song jumped out at me when I listened to this album. I'm like, I freaking love this song. This song is great. And then I can't believe nobody else picked this song. How can this not be on anybody else's list? My number 1 is To Tame a Land off of Peace of Mind. And it's a very dark song. And there's this is going to sound really stupid, but the chord progressions on it, it's like it's going along, and then they hit this one chord, and I'm not a musician, so I can't even tell you what it is. And it's like, oh, wow, that takes it to a whole different level. I know it sounds kind of stupid, but it's sort of like you're expecting it to go one way, and then they hit that chord or that note, and it's like, oh, wow, that adds like an entirely different element to it. I'm probably not making sense right now, but anyway, it's just a dark song. It's very epic. Great way to I think it's a great way to close out that particular album, as a closing song should be. It should be dark. It should be epic. It should be very cinematic and atmospheric. And that's anyway, that's how I feel about that one.
Awesome song.
I
That's
love
my
that
favorite.
song.
Song. Every one of those songs would have made my top 50 on that album. I love every song
Yeah.
on that one.
Yeah, well, I'm sure everybody feels the same way about everybody's list. I mean, is there really any bad song
Right.
from those classic, first 8 or 9 studio albums?
Yeah.
Quest for Fire.
I love
that was Gary. Yeah, that would have been Gary's number one, right?
Yeah.
No, I love Quest for Fire. I just can't stand that in the time when dinosaurs walk the earth line. I'm like, you
Yeah.
guys are freaking Iron Maiden. Like,
that's what I love about it. I love that line.
I'm with you, Chris.
I wish I put that as my channel intro. I just that one line.
you
Should have
should.
been the theme song
That's
for
about
Land of the.
community. It's the dinosaurs that still listen to vinyl.
Remember that TV show Land of the Lost? That was like
Yes.
the perfect theme song for that.
That's a great.
It is a horrible line.
I love it.
You're so right.
I'll die on that hill.
All right, least favorite. Is that everybody's least favorite song, or
No, not mine. By a long shot.
no?
That would be
You know what
That would be
Aaron's
mine.
is?
Mine's Fear of the Dark. I don't know why. But are we doing our favorite like deep cut thing too?
I
Oh
think-
yeah. Sorry,
favorite
I
would
missed
be
that
good.
one. Yeah, your favorite deep cut.
All right, so I was actually gonna pick Infinite Dreams. But since Jeff's already spoke so eloquently about it, I'm gonna pick another one from that album, and that's Moonchild. Man, I just love the 1-2 punch that this album starts at. When this album came out, I know a lot of Maiden fans were like, oh man, they were so disappointed. I just wasn't disappointed. I absolutely love it. I still have my Can I Play with Madness t-shirt. I know that song really drives people crazy. But Moonchild into Infinite Dreams, oh man, I love both those tracks. So for a deep track, those would be my picks.
It's
Nice.
Nice. All right. Well, I guess for me, for a deep track, it's actually one I've already shown as kind of my top favorite, one of my top favorite Maiden songs, and it's The Alchemist off of The Final Frontier. And I mean, I don't even necessarily know how to explain, why I like it so much. It's just there's just something that's very I don't know, it's just one of the ones that I love. I do love the chorus. That's one thing that stands out because with if Bruce uses the wrong words like when dinosaurs rule the earth, it sounds so stupid. But at the same time, when he uses his soaring vocals to say stuff that sounds kind of cool, it almost gives it like a godly type of feeling to it. And so like when they go into the chorus here where he says like, know this, I will return to this land, rebuild where the ruins did stand, chain up the demons, set free. It's just like when he's singing that, it's almost like he's in just some type of like just mystical movie where he's battling this, gigantic demon type of thing, but he's doing it with that big soaring vocal. And I feel that every time I listen to that song. So that's one I don't hear a lot of Maiden fans talk about, so I'll call it a deep cut, and I'm going with The Alchemist there.
Nice.
Well, Jeff read my mind. A deep cut of mine is To Tame a Land. I freaking love that song. But I'm gonna pull an Aaron and pull 2 more out for you. I love Loneliness of the Long Distance Runner.
Yes.
Love it.
It is such a great freaking song. And I'm also going to pull off the title track, Seventh Son of a Seventh Son.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Nowadays Maiden gets made fun of almost because their songs are so long. But back in the day, I felt like they had long songs, but they actually had a purpose to the length. There was different movements and it kept it interesting. Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner, Alexander the Great, Seventh Son of a Seventh Son. I don't get tired of hearing that song. And the chorus is just so heavy. Seventh son of a seventh son. It's I don't know. Every time I hear it, I get goosebumps. So those 3 songs, I mean, I could list 1,000 other tunes too, but I love those 3 songs.
Those are great.
Well, I'll pull an Aaron and just do one.
Yeah.
Honorable mention Quest for Fire, just because everyone hates it and I love it. I love it. But mine is Lord of the Flies from the X Factor.
Yeah,
I absolutely
nice.
love Lord of the Flies. It's, oh my God. Blaze Bailey is so killer on it. And I got to say, Sign of the Cross, dude, that's an epic song. I love Sign of the Cross so much, but
Yeah.
man, Lord of the Flies, I like this better than anything after Seventh Son. That song especially. I love Lord of the Flies. That's mine.
Aaron, do you like the song Future Real?
Yeah, I like that album too, but I don't like it nearly as well as X Factor. But I do like Virtual X a lot.
Yeah. And you,
Aaron,
yeah,
Sign of the Cross is so good that they still perform it. I've seen Iron Maiden twice in the last like 10 years, and they've played Sign of the Cross. So
well, they also do the Klansman.
yeah, the Klansman.
Yeah.
Yep.
But re-listening to these records again, that X Factor has aged very well. It's way better than people gave it credit for when it came out. And it's
Yeah, I need to grab it on vinyl. I do not own it.
It's really long. It's like 80 minutes. That's
Wow.
It's a really long album. Yeah.
Well, it's hard for me to pick a deep track because I don't know. I don't know what were the not deep tracks. What were the hits? I really don't know because I didn't grow up listening to Iron Maiden. But I just picked "Murders on the Rue Morgue" off of Killers because that's like a standout song on that album for me, and it's one of my favorite albums. It was in my top 5, and that's my favorite song off that particular record. So
That's a great one.
Yeah, I could have done top 5 from those first albums, like easy. I could have just had my top 5, like Murders of Rue Morgue, Charlotte the Harlot. I mean, these songs are like just
Afterlife.
Yeah.
Prowler.
Life is my favorite. I love Afterlife.
Oh my God. It's both. I mean, honestly, like the first 4 albums, they're just flawless to me. You know what I mean? Like,
and my favorite 5th. No, that's 4th. Mine's a 4th. 4th and the 1st.
Yeah.
Yeah.
would it be great to have like an Iron Maiden tour? I mean, because all 3 vocalists are still alive. I think Paul Di'Annano is still alive, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just have like Paul Di'Annano, Bruce Dickinson, and Blaze Bailey. Just have them kind of.
I actually did a video about that.
I mean, it'll never happen. It's like a fantasy concert, but
Yes, you did. Are we gonna name our favorite singer? Our favorite order of our singers too?
oh yeah, sure. Yeah. I forgot. I mean, I don't know, like whatever. I've
got it all written down here. That's the only reason.
dropping the ball here. Sorry.
So my least favorite, and this is obviously, like I said, not to disparage, but it is Blaze. I do love the Wolfsbane album, like Aaron. I totally agree. That album is killer. My number 2 is Bruce, and my number 1 is Paul Di'Anno. I think Bruce has a fantastic voice, but it's just Paul Di'Anno's attitude, and like Jeff said, it's kind of that classic rock sound. I just love it. It connects with me for some weird reason. But that being said, Bruce was the one that I was probably obsessed with. If you asked me when I was a kid, I would have said Bruce is the best. But as an adult, Paul Di'Anno, Bruce, then Blaze.
Yeah, I mean, actually, I'm going to say the exact same thing. Number 3, Blaze. Number 2, Bruce. And number 1, Paul. And it's one of those things where, I mean, Bruce obviously is bigger. I think Bruce is a little more unique, which I think sometimes you automatically want to put him in first place because it was kind of so unique and you know him when you hear him. But when you get down to it, when you talk about like a rock and roll, if you will, band on stage and just bringing that energy and that rawness, I mean, you couldn't ask for better than Paul back in the day. That stuff was freaking awesome. So Paul gets my number 1 too.
Okay.
All right. Well, my number 3 is Blaze, and I love Blaze. I just can't put him above Bruce and Paul. I just, again, I love Blaze. Aaron knows that, but I just can't put him above those 2. So 3 is Blaze, and 2, I'm going to go with the obvious choice here. 2 is Paul for me. And I love all these guys, but for me, my number 1 is Bruce because I got into Maiden because of Bruce Dickinson. And I'm also going to say too, I think Bruce Dickinson brought them to that next level. I don't know if if they stuck with Paul Di'Anno, now this is just hypothetical. I don't know if they would have reached the heights that they did with Bruce. And again, this is nothing against Paul Di'Anno. I love Paul Di'Anno. I love Blaze, but I feel like Bruce took them to the next level. And whenever you speak to most people about Maiden, it's right or wrong, they associate Bruce Dickinson with Iron Maiden. I feel like, to me, he is Iron Maiden. And again, this is nothing against those other two guys, but that's my ranking. It would be Blaze, Paul, and Bruce is number one.
And I think, Chris, you make a great point, because here's the thing is that Paul, because he only had 2 albums and they were perfect albums. Like, we've seen the highs and lows of Bruce because we have a full catalog of music. You know, like if you think about bands that had their first 2 albums were perfect, they quit then. There's no like, oh, like that song's kind of weak or this is weak. And I think that's probably what sways some people on Paul Di'Anno is 2 records that are absolutely perfect, you know. But I love
Bruce. And I agree with what you guys said. I love the rock and roll sense that he had, that sort of grit and that sort of almost, it's funny because Maiden was trying to dissociate themselves from punk, but they brought that punk element into their music with Paul Di'Anno. And I agree with you. Paul's awesome. I just, for me, I got to put Bruce at number one.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's easy to hold both those truths, because like I picked Paul as number one, but everything you said was 100% spot on. I mean, Maiden probably would not have gone to the next level if it wasn't for Bruce. I mean, that the unique thing he brought to the table, it's that they're both true. It's 2 truths. Yeah, absolutely.
I've got a different take on this than you guys do a little bit, but it's similar. Now, I've actually got it ranked as 4 singers because I feel like my number 4 is Bruce Dickinson from Brave World On. That era of Bruce Dickinson is my 4th. My number 3 is Blaze Bayley. I love all of them, though. My number 2 is Paul Di'Anno, and my number 1 is the original Bruce Dickinson records, his original vocalist. But he's like my 1st and 4th. And so actually Paul Di'Anno might be my true number 1, but you can't deny Bruce's power on those early Maiden records. And Paul Di'Anno's so close though, but that's I go 4 because I don't think that Bruce is the same singer when he came back as he was before. So that's just
that makes sense.
So Aaron, that kind of circles back to what I said. Do you feel like if Bruce had not come back in the band, right, like we might all view it differently, right? Like, and I mean, because obviously Bruce was incredible on those 80s albums, and I still think he's incredible. But obviously it's not the same, you know. Iron Maiden,
And I like all the stuff after Brave New World On. I like all that. It's just not as good as anything that came before.
I agree.
And I'm glad you said that, Aaron, because that's what takes away from me for the later albums is not only the length of the songs, especially on Senjutsu, but Bruce's voice. I love Bruce, but he's straining lately, and it's hard to listen to sometimes because in our heads we have that original Bruce, like you were saying, and now he's just not the same. I mean, I appreciate them coming out with new music. I'll buy a new Maiden album tomorrow if they come out with a new one. But it is hard sometimes to listen to Bruce lately. And I even find that on a solo record too, as well. It's a little distracting at times, especially when he tries to go for some of those higher notes.
I'll tell you what, Bruce Dickinson's got 2 solo albums that rival Maiden to me, you know, like
Accident of Birth and Chemical Wedding.
I love Accident of Birth, but I love Tattoo Millionaire.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Love that. And Chemical Wedding's amazing too.
Yep.
And Paul Di'Anno's Battle Zone is right in there too. That this album here is just phenomenal. Where is it? This album, Children of Madness. This album is freaking killer. It's right up with the Maiden albums to me too. Love this album so much. We had a couple of them, but this one here especially, love that album.
Nice.
Jeff, I'm interested to hear your ranking, brother.
All right. Well, my number 7 is going to be Bruce Dickinson, Post, Dance of Death. Number 6 is going to be the Bruce Dickinson from No Rest for the Wicked through Fear of the Dark.
No Rest for the Wicked.
My number 5 is going to be the Blaze Bayley Wolfsbane album. My number 4 is going to be Bruce Dickinson for Brave New World. My number 3 is going to be Blaze Bayley for the 2 Iron Maiden albums. My number 2 is going to be Bruce Dickinson for the first 7 Iron Maiden albums, studio albums. And then number 1 is going to be Paul Di'Anno for the first 2 Iron Maiden albums. I mean, and the thing about this, and like, no offense to Bruce Dickinson, but the thing about Paul is he could sing like slower and mellower, and then he could sing like the more up-tempo, the more aggressive, the real heavier stuff. Whereas with Bruce Dickinson, it's kind of like the first time you hear Mike Tyson talk, you know, when Bruce is trying to sing a little bit mellower. It's like, yeah, it's fine, but it's not like Paul Di'Anno can sing the mellower stuff, you know, on a song like, you know, like we mentioned before, Remember Tomorrow. You know, I can't imagine Bruce Dickinson singing that the same way that Paul could sing it. So,
well, he sings mellow on Infinite Dreams. That's one of your favorites, though.
Yeah, I guess so, but I would love to hear Paul take a crack at that song also, you know.
Now,
So.
you called me out, Jeff, on this album. I'm going to play this on my next Tipsy Tuesday. I did 3 years ago, part of the album. I'm going to play this on Tuesday. That's the one coming.
Aaron, do you know I have that album with the hype sticker?
I believe it.
Well, and you know, I kept my
Iron-
number to 7, but my number 8 would be the Sammy Hagar era of Iron Maiden.
That's kind of like that Wolfsbane reminds me of Rhino Bucket as being my favorite AC/DC record, but it's not AC/DC.
All right.
Yeah, it's like the best record that AC/DC never recorded.
Yeah, Rhino Bucket.
Yeah.
So I have an Iron Maiden question for you guys. We talked earlier about like Somewhere in Time being a gatefold. If you could have one Iron Maiden reissue or them put out something, what would it be? For me, it is the full Made in Japan concert. If I could pick one release, a box set, anything, Made in Japan full concert. But I'm interested to hear what you guys would like.
But that
mine would be Beast over Hammersmith. Can we get Beast over Hammersmith, a reissue of that, please? You know, it's been bootlegged for so long. For some reason, the band has been very stubborn about putting that live album. I've heard that live album is as good, if not better, than
Wasn't
Live
it tacked
After
onto the
Death.
back of
Yeah, exactly. Can we get a reissue of that, please?
That was just a re-release.
Yeah, but I think it's out of print.
But the problem with this is they replaced Gangland, which is one of my favorite songs. It still pisses me off. What they should have did is added what's the song? Total Eclipse to the end of side 1, and not mess with Gangland.
But you're right, Jeff. Beast over Hammersmith is friggin' awesome.
Oh, yeah.
It was right at the beginning.
Right there with it. It's excellent.
Yep.
Nice.
Yeah, it was like there and then it's gone again.
Yeah. All right, well, if I ever find it, Jeff, I will get it for you. I promise you.
What were those early? Were the early recordings called the Soundhouse tapes or something like that?
Yeah, the Soundhouse tape's super rare. Yeah,
because that could be reissued. That would be cool.
Nice.
I'd buy that. Easy.
And Aaron, I don't know. I have the Japanese CD version of X Factor. It's got 3 bonus tracks on it.
So it's like over 100 minutes then.
Yeah. So if you ever come across it, the bonus tracks are killer.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
What about Brandon and Aaron? Do you guys have a dream Iron Maiden reissue?
If I could get something, and actually it's kind of weird because it probably wouldn't be vinyl, it would be a CD. You know, like Metallica recently, at the past few years, they did those deluxe CDs of Master, Justice, Black Album. And the thing they did so awesome on that was you had the studio album as one CD, then the next CD was a live of all the studio albums.
Oh, yeah.
And then the third one was all of that demo and just like fly on the wall studio, hearing them talk about, putting stuff together and all of that. I would love to have one of those for the Somewhere in Time album, to have a studio alive and then just a fly on the wall in the studio listening to it all come together. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
I'd like to have the gatefolds of the two records that they should have put, obviously, Somewhere in Time and Seventh Son. But also, I would like to have like an early, like a thing of the Paul Di'Anno with women in uniform and all that extra stuff that wasn't on any of the albums, like added to them.
What I would go for a 12-inch single box set.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, why don't they do that and have all those 12-inch with the great cover artwork and a nice handsome box set? That would be awesome. You know how big a seller that would be?
Oh gosh.
Oh my God, take my money. I don't even see the price.
Yeah.
I have a few of the singles, but I don't have them all. And Women in Uniform, one of my favorite Maiden songs. It's not on any records. They got like.
Well, it'd be cool. Like, I mean, Depeche Mode did this where they took album by album, they released box sets of all the 12-inch singles for each of their albums. I don't know if Iron Maiden had enough for each album to do a box set, but even if there were enough to collect into one single, 12-inch box set, that would.
Well, what was cool along those lines is in the 90s, the record company Castle released all double CD versions of the Iron Maiden albums.
Mm-hmm.
And on the second disc, they had all the B-sides. And what was cool is they also included a little picture of what the sleeve looked like. So all those Castle reissues, you have the album plus the B-sides plus the original artwork, which is pretty cool.
I do have a few of those. I like them on vinyl because I rarely listen to my CDs. I forgot I even had them. I got a few of them there, but I just don't listen to CDs that much. But
yeah, and they also had cool Obi strips on the side.
Yeah. Those Castle reissues at one point were going for like $50-$60 a CD. They were going for a ton of money. But yeah, I agree with you guys. And Roger gets the 12-inch singles in, but I don't blame him. He asks a decent amount for them because they're in demand. People, Maiden fans are fanatical. So I would go for the reissue though. And I would go for Aaron's Purgatory Japanese single he's got there.
Well, it's not actually
shell some money. Really?
Yeah, it's let me show you. It's actually got that's what's on it here.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, this side 2 is live, so it's kind of like Made in Japan but different.
Nice.
Wow, that's awesome.
Now I was wondering about Made in Japan if that was actually the full show because they were probably the opening act at that point. They didn't have a long set list. So I'm wondering if that was the whole show.
I've seen a CD version of the complete show, and yeah, there's definitely more songs, but I couldn't tell you how many songs there was. I'd have to kind of Google it, but you would think that it's out there somewhere, So
yeah, they should put an official release on all this stuff that we're talking about.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this was a fun episode. Next week, all of us are going to get together again, but we're going to talk about orchestral maneuvers in the dark. We're going to do top 5 songs, top 5 albums, album artwork, the same deal. So looking forward to that episode. Everybody have your OMD t-shirts at the ready. And we're going to get our synth pop on.
Let's do it.
So, all right. Well, thanks everybody. And take care.